Deadpool and Wolverine pulled off exactly what it needed to. It's a damn good reason to go to the theater, for which I'm certain Regal and AMC are grateful to their Disney overlords. It's the start of Marvel's apology tour for their toilet water movies the last few years, deciding to play it as safe as possible and feeding us the McDonald's of cinema, with main ingredients consisting of unapologetic nostalgia and fan service. But it's also a surprisingly heartfelt farewell to Marvel's Fox universe, and Disney thankfully didn't burden this movie with the weight of saving the MCU. They're leaving that to their Robert Downey Jr. panic casting. I don't like describing a movie as fun, but that's really what this one is. It's fun. Not that MCU movies are the height of cinema, but Deadpool and Wolverine is a happy meal. There's no nutritional value and there might be some gut rot, but you're not supposed to eat that shit all the time. It's a little treat. Now, if you've seen a Deadpool movie, this one's like DMX on a roller coaster. You're getting exactly what you expect. Ryan Reynolds has Deadpool down to a formula, probably why Kevin Feige used this movie to momentarily stop the bleeding of the dying Marvel Cinematic Universe. A third Deadpool movie is the safest of bets, an absolute home run in the right hands and something that should be impossible to mess up. And with Wolverine added, this was the predictable, guaranteed box office hit they desperately needed. Just how nervous fans were about Marvel screwing this up is indicative of how far the MCU's fallen. But hey, Disney deserves credit for not fucking up the unfuck-upable, so good job. We're talking about a film that in a bizarre way was going to be above normal criticism, and it has to be if you want to enjoy it. If you think about the plot for 2 seconds, it completely crumbles under its own stupidity, and it was always going to. It definitely feels like Ryan Reynolds and the writing team used the meta-ness of the Deadpool character to justify a lot of lazy-ass writing, but the good stuff is damn good. Does it feel like there's any substance? No. Did I expect it? Also no. Fair or not, Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be judged on if it did what the broader audience expects, which is make people laugh, let Hugh Jackman be Wolverine, and just general Deadpool buffoonery, bullshit, and shenanigans. And yep, all boxes checked. Much like Wolverine's return to wash the stank-ass taste of Ant-Man and the Marvels out of your mouth, there's a razor to rival his adamantium blades. They can't make for a better movie experience, but they can make for a better shaving experience. I'm talking, of course, about Harry's blades. Harry's blades are made in their own factory in Germany, where they've been making blades for over a century. Besides the fact that I can't grow a real beard, this is like 3 days. The biggest problem with shaving always will be how expensive decent razors are. And Harry's has always been a brand that's name has been associated with affordability and quality. I feel like Harry's is a brand everyone knows or is aware of at this point. If you haven't tried them and are maybe worried it's just really nice marketing and packaging, it's not. They offer the highest quality blades possible at the lowest markup possible. Other blades are more expensive because they can be, not because they need to be. Harry's offers everything you'll need at a factory direct price, allowing them to keep their incredible quality while keeping prices affordable, at a time when saving money is more important than ever. If you click the link below, you'll receive a Harry's trial set for just $5. That's a $13 value for just $5. And thanks to Harry's for sponsoring this video. The plot of Deadpool and Wolverine is, well, kind of pointless and makes no fucking sense because of the contradictions it creates, but we'll get to that. The story, little as there is, exists to get Deadpool and Wolverine in a buddy action comedy scenario, and with a fourth wall breaking character, you have a built-in excuse to be as lazy as you want. The movie makes sure to do exactly that, for better or worse sometimes. We start with a flash forward on Earth 616. Deadpool's being interviewed by Happy Hogan for a spot on the Avengers, and he gets told promptly to eat shit. According to Happy, the Avengers is for selfless heroes, not for people trying to win back a stripper. We then go back in time to Deadpool's birthday party, and Mr. Wilson's taken away by the TVA. You know, that obnoxious reminder of sloppy MCU world building? They take him to meet Mr. Paradox, who offers him a spot in the sacred timeline, or rather Earth 616, where we just were. He'll want to take Paradox up on the offer too, since apparently his universe is dying. See, when Wolverine died back in 2017's Logan, the universe lost its anchor being. Or in real world terms, without a lead character to anchor the story, the writing is doomed to go to shit and audiences stop caring. A universe decays over several thousand years when the anchor person dies, but Paradox has a little MacGuffin to end universes faster. Because the movie needs to put the characters in some sort of time crunch jeopardy, contrived or not, damn it. Deadpool, not wanting his world to die, steals Paradox's little iPad and jumps universes looking for a variant of Wolverine to replace his dead one and thus stop his world from destruction. Does all that make sense? Absolutely fucking not. I'll break down the Earth killer-sized plot holes, but a note. There's a difference between this and other poorly written Marvel schlock as of late. At the very least, I am entertained. An excuse to see live-action versions of classic comic Wolverines begins while the cameo machine simultaneously starts. And dipshit Deadpool doesn't just snag any Wolverine. He apparently kidnaps the worst Wolverine in the multiverse, who was convinced by Deadpool to help him under the premise that the TVA could go back in time and fix his fuck-ups. Instead, Paradox prunes Deadpool and Wolverine to the void, where they start their buddy comedy adventure through various brown CGI spots, running into excuses for fan service and cameos galore. The two duke it out in a profanity-laced fight to kick things off, and it's made for sheer visual glory. Two beings who can't die trying to kill each other doesn't make for a fight with stakes, but it's pretty fucking fun to watch. They make it to the edge of the void where they meet more cameos along with another villain, Cassandra Nova, a variant sister of Charles Xavier. Deadpool gets Johnny Storm killed by exposing him as a Cassandra shit-talker, before they eventually escape and meet Nicepool, the other half of Ryan Reynolds' shtick. They gather all the cameos to battle Cassandra and escape the void, and they do just that in over-the-top CGI gore and shenanigans. Cassandra's betrayed by Pyro on behalf of Paradox because the movie needs to give her motivation for the finale, and Wolverine saves her, sparking a momentary truce allowing them to escape. Cassandra's decided to use the Time Ripper MacGuffin to not just destroy Deadpool's world, but everything in the multiverse, because villain reasons. Thankfully, Deadpool and Wolverine join forces in a video game quick-time sequence to stop her, and Wolverine's now called the best Wolverine because the MCU really needs you to care about this one pronto so we can get to the Avengers movies. My movie summary is tongue-in-cheek because as sloppy as the script is, this movie has a lot in common with Spider-Man No Way Home, which I still hold in high regard even though it's a heavily flawed nostalgia-laden film. That's what Deadpool and Wolverine is too, and neither movie has plot holes you could headcanon your way out of. The issues are there, but having characters with a bit of heart goes a really long way in enjoying a story. Objectively, the script for this movie is a complete fucking mess, and you can feel how rushed Marvel was to get this out. It has 5 writers, including Reynolds himself, and the movie was pushed into production then abruptly shut down due to writer's strikes. With Ant-Man 3 and the Marvels bombing, Disney needed a hit, so a lot was riding on this to be successful. For what they managed to produce in the time frame they had, they did a great job. This wasn't a movie written by activists with no IP knowledge, it was made from fans. I mean, seeing Hugh Jackman's reaction to the final fight is proof this man is one of us. There's also shoddy visual work too. From the opening sequence of a bloody Deadpool against a Snow White backdrop that looks incredible, to the boring bland brown of the void. This movie definitely could have used another year of production. It's the kind of movie where they'll Star Wars it to death in the future. With physical media dying, in the near future they'll probably give unfinished movies like Deadpool and Wolverine a new save file, with upgraded CGI and buffs like a fucking video game. They already do it with Star Wars. Watch a physical VHS copy of the special edition from the 90s, and then whatever version they have on Disney Plus now. They're not the same movie. They even do that with movies in theaters. The audio problems from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse comes to mind, and man, this movie calls for a software update. I also ask the question, why does every movie produced by Disney have that look to it? No matter the director, there's a sheen to their movies with a distinct lack of grit. It really does set this one apart visually from its predecessors. An interesting takeaway from Deadpool and Wolverine is that Marvel's very aware of its own problems. Disney and even Kevin Feige himself have deflected criticism of Phase 4 and 5, digging their heels in the ground about review bombing just this past weekend. They say that while simultaneously taking in all of the criticism they've been receiving the past few years and doing everything in their power to correct it. Deadpool's fourth wall breaks are used to address the MCU's issues head on. Deadpool congratulating Wolverine on joining the MCU, which he admits is at a low point right now, is the first sign Feige listens to the fans. Does he say that he cares what you have to say? Absolutely fucking not. And the movie's plot point about the importance of anchor characters to an entire universe is strikingly similar to a video I made 2 years ago about the importance of having what I called an anchor character for the MCU, like Iron Man was, or wait for it, Hugh Jackman was for the Fox universe. Yes, I'd say the anchor being plot is more a meta-commentary for the MCU dying without a central figure like Robert Downey Jr. It's why I mentioned in that same video they'd need to be focused on either Wolverine or Doctor Doom, who they'd get to return, by the way. I was right. Feige can say whatever he wants, but it's like someone at Marvel is watching YouTubers and taking notes. And maybe too much at face value. I thought they'd cast someone new as Doom and Wolverine, but they literally got Hugh Jackman back and Downey Jr. for a heel turn. Amazing. That's Marvel's answer to their problems. They're going back to the well, but at least it's better than the shit they've been pumping out, so judging by the box office numbers, it's a safe decision on Marvel's part while they figure out what to do for the rebooted MCU of Phase 7 and beyond. Deadpool and Wolverine's meta jokes show the studio can be honest about its mistakes, even though no one would say it outside a joke that has plausible deniability, but we'll take what we can, I guess. As mentioned before, this movie is going to be viewed outside normal criticism for the vast majority of people seeing it. Who cares if something makes sense in a movie that breaks the fourth wall, am I right? But it's similar to an argument made for Godzilla x Kong, or any other random meta movie like Barbie even. Especially with MCU apathy in mind, mileage will vary on how much even fans care about the story problems. But let's take a look at some just for shits and giggles. Number 1, it's previously been established in the MCU that if a variant winds up in a universe outside their own, their displacement would lead to an incursion and the destruction of the universe they're inhabiting. But the entire reason Deadpool and Wolverine wind up together is because Deadpool's trying to save his universe by permanently replacing Logan with a variant. Yet, in Multiverse of Madness, Stephen Strange was captured by an alternate Avenger squad who wanted him the fuck out of there because his presence would cause the destruction of their universe. Even though their world Strange was, wait for it, dead. There's some validation for the nothing in the multiverse matters jokes. Two movies inhabiting the same universe contradict each other regarding the overarching storyline. New motto is welcome to the MCU. Who cares? Number 2, a universe starts to decay when its anchor being dies? How did it exist before the anchor being existed? Were there previous anchor beings? Will there never be another one? So the universe's most likely billion-year history rests solely on the 80-year at best lifespan of one human being. I know it doesn't make sense and it doesn't need to, but it's still there no matter how you feel about the movie. And there are a lot of examples in the movie like this, where I don't even think Mahler would want to go through them all. But again, I understand that's the point. Marvel's continuity and overall story has always been played a little loose, but it seems like we're at the point of fuck the story, hit the emergency fan service button. And goddamn does this thing commit to fan service, where the movie isn't so much a movie but more a celebrity guessing game of who could they afford with a Disney level budget. That's where this kind of thing gets you. It is cool to see a lot of the fan service key jangling wish fulfillment moments that have eluded fans all these years. If there was some substance to the first 3 MCU phases, then Deadpool and Wolverine is the start of the apology tour for the last few years of shit movies. Even if it looks goofy. When Channing Tatum walks out as comic accurate Gambit, I was happy to finally see it and also glad we never got a solo movie. More cameos from Fox's past creep in like Jennifer Garner's Elektra, but no Ben Affleck. Was it budget constraints or maybe Affleck's done with superheroes as he deals with the burden of existing? This poor fucking guy. The big return though is Wesley Snipes as Blade. Still looking badass at 60, they let him actually say something along the lines of, "There's only ever gonna be one Blade." A line Marvel allowed that I'm sure Mahershala Ali is pleased with. Knowing Snipes' history, it's not crazy to think he negotiated that line into his contract. And Blade gets the best deal out of all the cameos. They wouldn't dare make him look uncool. He even gets to throw the ice skating uphill line for some seal claps. Another person sneaking in from the Fox universe was Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. His brutal murder in the movie serves as a lesson. They can afford Chris Evans for this, and he's 100% going to be back as Captain America in Secret Wars. And yeah, all these cameos are unabashed key jangling, but they're at least here because the film, flaws and all, was made by people who love the property. That's proven by the end credits, where Good Riddance plays over a montage of behind-the-scenes footage. That gets the Hallmark commercial single-serving emotional resonance, but it's simultaneously earnest all the same. And that leads me to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, who's the big gimmicky selling point of this movie. These stunt casting things are gimmicky since the story has to work through contrivances to bring the character back, but I'm open to anything as long as it's executed well. So does the movie give a good enough reason to bring Hugh back? Yes and no. It pulls the same thing the Loki show did. The character of Loki died during the events of Infinity War, but the writers really need you to be emotionally invested in this time variant version of him the exact same way. So the variant Wolverine, much like the variant Loki, is the exact same character as the previous one up to a point. It's a quick way to essentially bring someone back from the dead without actually doing it. The story excuse to bring him back barely matters. What actually does is the psychology behind it, at least to Marvel. General audiences won't care too much if this is the same Wolverine, as long as it's the recognizable face of Hugh Jackman playing him. For what it's worth, I found the desecration of Logan's corpse at the beginning of the movie a wild thing to write. I found that pretty funny, but also over the top. James Mangold's pulling an Arthur right now, I'm sure. Also, if Deadpool could go back to any point in his timeline, why not just go back to a point where Wolverine's alive? Just whatever. Basically, we just have to accept that Wolverine's back, and yay, it's Hugh Jackman. And damn, he brings the intensity in a few scenes that carry all the emotional weight in the movie, and serve as a reminder of how great of an actor he is. Between Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine, I think he's made up for the decades of movies where he didn't get to say my favorite word, fuck. Using it so liberally it even made me question if it was excessive. By the time he dons the mask, the fan wish fulfillment is in full effect. On an IMAX screen, watching Hugh Jackman in full comic Wolverine attire slash through his enemies is 25 years in the making, and Marvel Marvel gave us what we wanted all those years. Unfortunately, it's in a completely meaningless sequence where all the enemies come right back to life, but for a quarter pounder with cheese, it fulfilled my needs, empty as those calories are. As for Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, I have to be objective. He understands the character and plays him well. I just don't find Reynolds particularly entertaining. I think his shtick is best served in small doses because he's a one-trick pony and things get old really fast. Jackman beating the shit out of him and verbally tearing him to shreds throughout the movie is satisfying on a meta level. Regardless of how I feel about him, audiences resonate with him. I've said before that Reynolds as Deadpool makes the superhero movie for people who don't like superhero movies, and I stand by that. So if you've enjoyed that Deadpool series up to this point, you'll certainly love Reynolds in the role again. Deadpool and Wolverine was able to succeed because it wasn't burdened with the weight of saving the MCU storyline, but its success at the box office certainly showed Marvel a path forward to save the next phase. Nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. Robert Downey Jr. coming back is no mistake, and it'll play into audience psychology again. Just like seeing Hugh Jackman, it doesn't matter if Downey's playing a variant or different character. Seeing him back in the MCU is the least bold strategy possible, but for Deadpool 3 to be R-rated and open to 200 million, it looks like it'll be good enough to get fans back in the seats for at least 2 more Avengers movies. GG's.